What is the best deck list for every single legend in the Riftbound Spiritforged metagame? There's 28 in total, which includes set 1, set 2, and of course the 4 from Proving Grounds, because at the regional event in China this weekend, players were incentivized to play unorthodox legends, because if you were the best performing player with your specific legend, you win yourself a metal prize card of that legend. Over in the Houston regional, figures were being thrown out in the tens of thousands of dollars for these cards. So it's an extremely lucrative prize and really, really awesome. Garen was the worst performing of these, finishing 253rd, and then Draven won the whole thing. So we're going to be working our way through from bottom to top, and there will be timestamps if you just want to fast forward to your deck of choice. Now, bear in mind, we're going to be doing this every time there's a regional event, so make sure you subscribe and give the video a like. Thanks to the channel sponsor Card Market, the biggest marketplace for trading card games in Europe, which includes Riftbound, of course it does. And also thanks to Runes and Rift for compiling these deck lists in one nice place. The original post will be in the description. So Garen finished 253rd out of 500, not a bad effort. What we saw with the best Garen deck in Houston was a Dazzling Aurora build, which had basically no synergy with Garen. It was just an Aurora deck with no legend, essentially. This one's a little bit different. This one actually does have some Garen synergy, which is nice to see. Dazzling Aurora is really, really struggling in this format, perhaps largely because the format's a little bit quicker. Like, as cards have got a bit stronger with set 2 because the card pool's bigger. Cards like Lucian can just capture lots of points more easily in the early game. I think that Dazzling Aurora has more bad matchups, but also gear removal. I mean, look at Akshan. Akshan Mischievous, a brilliant, brilliant card. You may pay 2 power as an additional cost to play me, and if you do, you can steal one of your opponent's gear. So Dazzling Aurora is not very good in the current format. I'm sure it will return at some point, but it's not great now. So it's nice to see actually Garen having some synergies. Garen Commander, other friendly units have +1 might here, using the Seal of Unity with this yellow Garen. Punch First Mate, and Lucian are very, very good tempo-orientated cards to try and help you score some important points, with Lucian and First Mate being able to ready things, Lucian itself, First Mate other things, and then that Punch First, just an absolutely devastating new combat trick which cannot be defied because of its 2 power cost. Hidden Blade, a bit of a staple, and then we've got the Imperial Decree as a powerhouse closer card in many ways. When any unit takes damage this turn, kill it. We see Viktor utilizing this, even Lux decks at times, the Lux decks which go wide, and it's a very, very devastating play. Imagine you've got a 99-point Dr. Mundo, hypothetically, and I have a 1 might recruit. Well, if I play Imperial Decree, my 1 might recruit will be able to take down your 99 might Mundo, which is pretty damn cool. Noxian Drummer and Vanguard Captain do give this deck the opportunity to go wide a little bit. We've got the trusty Ram Hound, which gets +1 might if another unit's there, and then just lots of other generically good cards. The Eye of Herald can also spawn a 1 might recruit token. Karina Varaza, which sends me back to Legends of Runeterra. She has Accelerate, and when I move to a battlefield, play 3 1 might recruit tokens here. Sideboard was available in this tournament as it was best of 3, so the battlefield selection also important. The new battlefield, Forge of the Fluffed. When you conquer this battlefield, friendly legends have Exert them to attach an equipment you control to a unit you control. So the Forge of the Fluffed gives you at least some chance of getting value off of your legend, because it's very difficult to have 4 units when you conquer. But yep. Garen first up, last up I suppose, in the second worst place. 1 place above is Darius. Now that's a pretty disappointing result for Darius. Darius didn't really catch on too much in set 1, but I do think it's one of the more underrated decks in set 1, and it didn't have a great performance this weekend. But this is where we've obviously got to mention big pinch of salt. This is the first regional. There's usually, like, on some of the lower played legends, there's like 5 or 10 people playing them. So it's definitely not indicative of necessarily the best deck. It's just giving us like an early idea as the meta develops. So Darius Executioner is the chosen champion of choice. Of course, we know the red Darius is unbelievable. What I just want to do is just quickly compare Darius Executioner to Garen. So 6 might, other friendly units have +1 might here. 5 might, other friendly units have +1 might here. And Darius also can come in ready. Like, poor Garen. Like, this just highlights how bad Garen is. It literally is a worse Darius. And this Darius doesn't tend to see that much play, although I do think it's a bit underrated. So I actually like the decision to go for the yellow Darius, even though the red Darius is so good, because if you're playing a yellow seal, if you decide that yellow seals are where you want to go, playing a yellow power cost champion rather than a red one makes a lot of sense. Now, this deck is very much built around the baited hook, which in days gone by, I would have said, absolutely, that sounds brilliant. Baited hook is a brilliant, brilliant card. And if left unanswered, it is so powerful, it is absurd, particularly with the Harnessed Dragon. When you play me, kill an enemy unit here, you can do some really, really awesome things with the baited hook. Perhaps the reason this deck might have struggled this weekend is because item removal is everywhere. Imagine you've got a baited hook and it gets stolen by an Akshan, or it gets salvaged. And these kinds of cards are very popular, not only in the sideboards, but actually in the main decks themselves. A lot of the time, the baited hook decks would be sort of fine as long as you drew your baited hook. But now you can draw your baited hook and you can still get cooked by item removal. So that's perhaps a slight concern with this style of deck. This deck's going a little bit wide as well, with the Vanguard Captain being a particularly good card, and also the seals work so well with the Darius. The opening that you can pull off with Darius is probably the best turn one play in Riftbound. If you're going first, you play your seal, floating a rune, you tap your Darius, you have 3 energy available, you tap your seal, you play a Vanguard Captain, and suddenly your first turn, you have a Vanguard Captain down at your base with 3 might, and you have 2 1 might recruit tokens. It really doesn't get better than that, I think, as an opener. We see the Glass Mixologist, which I think must be a new card, although it's a Runeterra art, which is throwing me off. A Death Knell ability, you may play a unit with cost no more than 3 and no more than 1 power from your trash, ignoring its cost. That's going to be nice with the Vanguard Captain. In particular, you've got Grand Stratagem to go nice and tall. You've got Brian here, Thundersong in there for some disruption, which can definitely be good off the baited hook as well. Up next, we've got Renata in 215th place. Renata is blue and yellow, so competing with Viktor and Lux. Renata is one of the legends I'm least sure about in terms of how good they actually are. When you or an ally hold, you may exhaust me to play a gold gear token. Exhausted. That's pretty good. So you're incentivized to reward, you get gold gear, although it's going to be exhausted, so it's quite slow, right? So turn 1, you play something to your base. Turn 2, you move into the base. And then you try and hold it, right? And then turn 3, when you're at 6 runes, assuming you went first, you then get your first gold gear and it's exhausted. So you wouldn't be able to use a single gold gear until turn 4. That's a little bit disappointing. Having said that, the second part of the ability, when your score is within 3 points of the victory score, your gold add an additional 1 energy. Now that is pretty good. Gold gear is really, really strong. So gold gear generation is certainly going to be popular in this deck. Plundering Poro, when I conquer, play a gold gear token. Exhausted is certainly one clear way to get it, as well as the Honest Broker. Play a gold gear token exhausted when I die. Wages of Pain also gets you it when you play it. So there's a fair bit of gold gear generation. The other thing that's really good about the gold gear generation is the synergy it has with Jace and the Vanguard Armory, which is really interesting because we're also seeing some Lux decks utilize Jace and Vanguard Armory. You look at Vanguard Armory and Jace combo and you think it might actually be a Viktor deck, but it seems as though this combo might actually be better suited away from Viktor, because Viktor can spawn lots of tokens willy-nilly, but Renata and Lux struggle to maybe go wide, but you can play lots of like big powerhouse spell cards, for example, and units. Well, maybe actually the Jace and Vanguard Armory combo is better outside of Viktor. I think it might be. So I've been cooked actually by some Lux decks using this combo. So Jace, when you play me, you can kill a friendly gear. Ideally, it's going to be a gold gear token. And then you can play a gear which costs 7 energy or less. And the Vanguard Armory then would come in and you can play 3 recruit tokens every single turn. Of course, again, another problem for this. Imagine your Vanguard Armory gets Akshan'd. You are going to be absolutely heartbroken. So a big problem that a deck like this has is while it has a big powerhouse opening, it's very, very counterable, particularly with sideboards being part of the game. Now, Hostile Takeover is the signature spell for Renata, and it's extremely strong. Ideally, you're going to hide it because it's just going to cost you 1 power to hide it. And of course, you could spend that with the gold gear that you're generating all over the place. But if you don't hide it, it's going to cost you 5 energy and 2 power. So a big difference. Take control of an enemy unit at a battlefield. It's also not action speed, right? Very, very interesting. It's not action speed. So you can either play it in your own turn, or you can only play it in your opponent's turn if it's hidden. Take control of an enemy unit at a battlefield and ready it, and lose control of that unit and recall it at the end of your turn. So it's kind of like a possession, right? You can seal your opponent's card and add it to your side of the battlefield for 1 turn. But if you can hide this, right? You're at 7 points. You just need to hold and you can hide a hostile takeover. You probably win. So it's a really, really nice way to close the game out. Very, very interesting signature spell. I've got to say, it's a very compelling reason to play this deck. Now, Renata Glask, Industrialist, is the chosen champion. The yellow Renata, your tokens enter ready. So actually, Renata does immediately have some synergy with the Vanguard Armory, being able to put those in ready. How else can you get tokens? Well, your gold gear, guys, from Chem Baroness. If you hold and you've got Renata Glask, it's going to come in ready, which isn't that significant, but it's certainly, you know, I mean, it could help, I guess. Not the most impressive chosen champion, I got to say, on this one. I think that's maybe one of the things holding this deck back. If you look at the metagame, a lot of the decks that are doing really well at the moment have a really good, consistent chosen champion that puts in a lot of work. We've got the Trove Golem at the top end. I don't even know what this one does. When you play me, play 4 gold gear tokens exhausted. Well, that is very, very good with Renata, because those gold gear giving you 1 additional energy is actually quite outstanding. Consult the past for some draw. Time Warp is a very interesting top end as well. Pretty cool deck. I'm definitely keeping an eye on Renata. I think the signature spell has huge potential in particular. Maybe the rest of the deck just lets it down a little bit, but the Legend's interesting. The champion seems to leave a lot to be desired. 214th place is Jinx. Now, I think Jinx has got to be good this format, to be honest. Is it going to be worse than Annie and Draven? Yes. But Annie and Draven are probably going to be 2 of the best decks, if not the 2 best decks in the whole game. Certainly Annie is a little bit going under the radar for now, but how long is that really going to last? Well, purple seems to be the best colour this format, and red pairs really, really well with it. A big reason purple is the best colour, arguably, is because of this Seal of Discord, the purple seal package. You can play the seal, you can play the Cold Shot, and you can play Ezreal. There's no Ezreal here, which is a little bit surprising, to be honest, but there we are. I would probably want to put Ezreal in this deck. Ezreal works so well with Cold Shot because you play your seal, you play Ezreal, who has a purple power cost. Cool. The next turn, your Ezreal, whenever it's down, your repeat costs are reduced by either an energy or a power. So you can tap your seal, play a Cold Shot, and then your Ezreal pays the other repeat cost. So basically you get to play a Cold Shot for just tapping your seal. It's like a really, really dirty combo. I'm a little bit surprised to see no Ezreal, particularly when there's like synergy with the Ezreal discard in a Jinx deck with the Jinx Rebel. When you discard 1 or more cards, ready me and give me +1 might this turn. And this is another example of why when you're going down a route of like a certain sealed color, you really have to start evaluating cards with a purple power cost a little bit more heavily. We're used to seeing the red Jinx actually dominating these Jinx decks as the chosen champion, but as soon as you've got a purple seal already in the deck, this Jinx becomes a lot more interesting, and I think it's a pretty solid card. Vi's in there with no Ride the Wind. There's a Ride the Wind on the sideboard, to be fair. Only 1 Vi. Stack deck, Doran's Ring, when I conquer, discard, draw 1. Traveling Merchant, Fight or Flight, Chemtech Enforcer, Edge of Night, which is a really good new gear, which you can hide. Flame Chompers still makes the cut. 2 Boots of Swiftness to give ganking. Noxus Hopeful, 1 Super Mega Death Rocket. Nocturne, which, brilliant card in this format. Battering Ram, Wrath of the Sunderer. Like, this package of cards is so much tempo, it's unbelievable. Wrath of the Sunderer is going to be reduced in cost for every card that you have in your trash. Battering Ram is reduced in cost for every card you played this turn, and Nocturne can be played for 3. Like, these cards are so good. I just don't think Jinx can be bad. You just play super aggressive. It's going to be really, really hard to go wrong. The card quality that you have available here in purple and red is through the roof. Let's look at the battlefield. Zorn Warrens, no surprises there. We've also got Minefield. When you conquer here, put the top 2 cards of your main deck into your trash. That's going to work really well with Wrath of the Sunderer, and also some Fizz synergy there as well. And then the Veiled Temple. When you conquer here, you may ready a friendly gear. If it's an equipment, you may detach it. So Jinx looking good. I do think this list could be improved upon, with Ezreal in particular. But I've got to say, I like it a lot. I think if you add Ezreal into this list, I would be really, really impressed by it. Without the Ezreal, I feel a little bit disappointed not to see it. But maybe, like, you don't have that many repeat costs, to be fair. Maybe Ezreal's not the be-all and end-all. But big shout out to this Jinx player for 214th. Volibear up next in 202nd, and it is a Dazzling Aurora deck. Now, I think Volibear just makes sense to play Aurora, right? Like, you've got flipping chosen champion that costs 10 minimum. I think that's one of the things holding Volibear back. If you had like a 2-drop Volibear chosen champion or a 4-drop, I think this deck would have a lot more legs. Now, it's interesting to see with the Dazzling Aurora decks in the past, we have, of course, seen a lot of them just playing nothing that's cheap. This deck does have a few sort of cheap things that cost 5 and 6 with the Carnivora Snapvine. When you play me, choose an enemy unit at a battlefield, we damage equal to our might. I really like this card. It does have a double power cost, but obviously with Volibear legend ability, whenever you play something mighty, you channel a rune, so it sort of undoes that. And yeah, this Minotaur Reckoner has definitely caught the eye for me. As soon as I saw it, I was like, ooh, that'll be good in Volibear. Units can't move to base. That's really, really good. Because what a lot of people are going to do against Dazzling Aurora is they're just going to score lots of cheap points and then they're going to move everything back to their base. And then they're just going to try and clear both battlefields in one swoop, and you can't really do much about that. Well, the Minotaur Reckoner comes down, it ramps you in the Volibear shell. And yeah, actually, it's good to see that Volibear is like maybe the go-to Dazzling Aurora deck now. It's quite possible. I think that the Minotaur is really, really good. Also, Stormbringer's in the deck. 2 is a lot of copies. A lot of people never even played one of these, which always surprised me a little bit. Choose a friendly unit in your base. Deal damage equal to its might to all enemy units at a battlefield. Then move your unit there. I mean, the synergy there with Stormbringer and Minotaur Reckoner is huge. Ferocious Forerunner's in there, which is a great new card and a really good addition for a Volibear deck. Anivia Sky Splitter's great. And then the sort of usual suspects we'd expect to see. We've got Vimore's Lair, Sigil of the Storm, and Aspirant's Climb. So 3 old battlefields. There is another new battlefield which is really interesting for Dazzling Aurora decks. I can't remember the name of it, but the ability is you can't score here until your 3rd turn. That could be a pretty interesting one. Maybe the problem with an Aurora deck is your opponent's just free to go into the other one, and it might not actually prove to do anything because you're not really able to contest the other battlefield. But yeah, Volibear looking pretty solid, honestly. It's definitely one to keep an eye on. I think this Minotaur Reckoner with Stormbringer and the Ferocious Forerunner seems pretty spicy. 200th place, we've got Sivir, another purple deck. Sivir is also like a gold gear generator as a legend, and I think that purple and orange is a very, very good pairing. It's actually a Dazzling Aurora deck. I didn't quite expect that. It's interesting though. Makes sense that you can play Dazzling Aurora with Garen if you really want. I do definitely think that Sivir non-Dazzling Aurora could also be solid. When you recycle a rune, you may exhaust me to play a gold gear token exhausted. When 1 or more units die, ready me. Yeah, I mean, gold gear is good. The Chosen Champion's all right as well. She has Accelerate. And if you spent at least 2 power this turn, I have +2 might and ganking. And of course, she has a power cost to player and a power cost to accelerate her. So if you go for both of those, she's going to have +2 in ganking, so she would be 6 might. And then you would get 1 gold gear back from that with the legend. I feel like the Chosen Champion is like, it's almost good, but there's something like a bit clunky about that when I'm reading it, which puts me off a little bit. But yeah, I definitely think that purple and orange has real legs. I think Misfortune looks really interesting as a mid-range deck as well. You've got Ruin Runner, Punch First, the purple package, we know how good it is with Cold Shot, Seals and all that sort of stuff. Maybe Nocturnes, who knows. But this is just a nice Dazzling Aurora build. You can't really go too wrong, can you? Mobilize is in there for your ramp, as well as Catalyst of Aeons as well. I imagine there's a better way to play Sivir, to be honest, than Dazzling Aurora. I think this is a pretty solid legend in its own right. I don't think Dazzling Aurora is all that good, but still 200th place out of 500, not too shabby. In 185th, we have Lee Sin. Now, Master Yi maybe is falling off a bit in this format, it seems. Early days, of course, so maybe Lee Sin could actually start to make a little bit of sense. If Master Yi doesn't feel great into the format, which I'm not sure that's necessarily true, but if that's true, like Lee Sin's not terrible. I think the Lee Sin Chosen Champion's a pretty good one. Other buffed friendly units at my battlefield have +2 might, and it has Accelerate. So basically what this deck needs in terms of curve is you need lots of early curve, because Lee Sin is going to be like your closer. You basically use this card as the last card you play every time. So usually cheaper legends are slightly better to have as your Chosen Champion because you just have that curve more consistently. Whereas Lee Sin, sort of a lot of the time when you play Lee Sin, it gets stuck there, right? And you just don't play it until right at the end. But it can still be a good finisher. So find your centers in there as the main ramp card. There isn't any other ramp in there. And then 6 cost is the highest cost with Ruin Runner. And this is a big reason that I think that Lee Sin, maybe Master Yi, certainly Misfortune, Sivir, could be like more aggressive shells than we're used to seeing, because Ruin Runner gives you like an actual really good closer. You didn't have access to Ruin Runner, of course, in set 1, and there was no real way of like closing out the game unless you ramp. and play like Dead Bloom Predators and stuff like this. But this deck is just like mid-range aggro-y, tempo style, and it looks pretty damn solid. Punch First Defy on guard. Guardian Angel is a really good new card, which if I would die, kill Guardian Angel instead. We've got Discipline and Thwonk, which is a new stun card. Wallop, to spend a buff to something can enter ready, and you can play it for free. Challenge is great. Lonely Poro, Clockwork Keeper. Emperor's Divide is a really interesting new card. It's kind of like Flash, which you can hide. Move any number of friendly units at a battlefield to their base. We've got Janna, which is a reaction card you can play from your hand. When you play me, heal your units here. Then move an enemy unit from here to its base. 3 Trinity Force, wow. When I hold, score 1 point, as well as Irelia. When you choose already me, give me +1 might this turn. So it's a pretty cool take on Lee Sin. Definitely a pretty damn good result here. The deck's not going to set the world on fire, is it? But if you're going for a best of card, I think you could do much worse than playing Lee Sin. Leona in 183rd place. Leona's never been the most popular champion, but there are some new, maybe one new stun card, which might give the deck a bit more of a chance. Radiant Dawn is the legend. When you stun 1 or more enemy units, buff a friendly unit. One of the biggest reasons to play Leona is this signature spell, Zenith's Blade, or Zenith Blade. Stun an enemy unit at a battlefield. You may move a friendly unit to that enemy unit's battlefield. That is a bonkers good card. Thwonk is the new stun. Stun an attacking unit. This doesn't deal combat damage this turn, is what stun is. There was a cat making a noise there, which distracted me. This also has repeat. Facebreaker is also a stun. This Desert's Call card is really good. I like this card an awful lot. This might be a contender for one of my favourite 2-drops in Spiritforged. Play a 2 Might Sand Soldier unit token, but you can repeat. So you can play this as a 2-drop or a 4-drop. And if it's a 4-drop, actually going wide and playing 2 guys for 4 is really, really good. So I like this card an awful lot. So I'll use Hourglass, Emperor's Divide, which is that flash type card. And then Call to Glory is really, really good because you get buffs very easily with your Leona. And then you can spend those buffs to give +3 might. We've got both Leonas. The yellow one is the chosen champion, at least for game 1. She has shield. And when I attack, stun an enemy unit here. And then Leona Zila. If an opponent's score is within 3 points of the victory score, I enter ready. And stunned enemies units here have -8 might. And finally, in the top end, there is the new, I think it's new, Eclipse Herald. Maybe it's not new. When you stun an enemy unit, ready me and give me +1 might this turn. And there's 3 of those, so that's pretty interesting. Leona, not a deck I've played or seen much of. Want to keep an eye on for sure. Up next, 129th place, so a pretty big jump. Very big jump. Up into Rumble. Now, I think Rumble's got a chance of being pretty good. Obviously, it's overshadowed by Kai'Sa. Rumble is also the starter deck, so a lot of these cards are going to be very easily available. But if you want to build like an aggro, red-blue, Rumble's going to be probably your go-to. Maybe you could still play Kai'Sa, to be honest, but we'll have to see. But your mechs have shield, and the chosen champion here, Rumble Scrapper. Your mechs have +1 might, including me. And when I hold, play a 3 might mech unit token to your base. The signature spell Danger Zone, I think, has to be good here. It's a reaction speed with repeat, and you give your mechs +1 might this turn. I feel like that's really, really solid. So you're just going to play as many mechs as you really possibly can. And I quite like that. Like, this is actually just a mech deck, which is good. There's a lot of theme here. The Gem Jammer's in there. The Forecaster, which gives all of your other mechs vision. The Bubble Bot is like a first mate for mechs. When you play me, ready another friendly mech. That's really good. Dangerous Juror from set 1 is also a mech. When you play me, give a unit +2 might this turn if you played Legion. Rumble Hot-Headed, which could be the chosen champion, but it's not. Your mechs each have Assault. When I conquer, you may recycle another friendly unit to play a mech from your chash. Reduces energy cost by the might of the unit you recycle. Ferocious Forerunner, Brian here, Thundersong, June Breaker. If you have 2 or fewer cards in hand, I enter ready. When I hold, draw 2. And finally, the Breakneck Mech as a triple top-end option at 8 energy, 2 power, 7 might. Your mechs have Deflect and Ganking. I enter ready if you control another mech. I think it looks pretty good, mate. I think it looks pretty good. We're not seeing like any of the Kai'Sa kind of things here, like Falling Stars. It really is just all in on mechs. It looks like a really solid build, and that's a great effort. 129th place. I'm excited to try out some Rumble myself, that's for sure. 127th, we've got Ornn. Ornn is kind of like the Kai'Sa of gear. So Ornn is giving you a power to spend on gear or abilities. This works particularly well with seals, and immediately I'm fascinated because you see 2 different seals. That's very, very rare that that would ever happen. Usually you're just going to put 1 seal in the deck, and then you're very heavily incentivized to just build with that power cost in mind. But actually, if ever there was a deck which could play multiple seals, Ornn makes sense, because Ornn has great synergy with the seals. If you think about it, the biggest weakness of a seal is that you still have to pay the power cost the turn you play it. Well, with Ornn, you can tap your Ornn, right, and then play a seal, and you don't have to pay a power cost because Ornn has you covered. So that's really, really good. There's also the Poro Snack, which is a new cheap 1 cost gear, which of course Ornn can also pay the power cost for. When you play this, draw 1, and then you can pay 1 energy and 1 power to kill this and draw 1. So it's like a card draw gear. Premonition's in there, which is a 3 power cost, draw 3. Meditation, as an additional cost to play this, you may exhaust a friendly unit. If you do, draw 2. Otherwise, draw 1. Consult the past as a 3 of. So lots of card draw options in here. Very, very heavy on the card draw options. Even like Find Your Center is replacing itself. Draw 1 and channel 1 rune exhausted. Poro Snack, Meditation, Premonition, Consult the past. It's a huge, huge investment into card draw. Now, what you might notice is there's not many units in this deck. There's 3 to be exact, and they're all the same. This is Ornn Force God. In fact, there's Azir in there as well. So Ornn Force God, as the chosen champion, this card is quite nuts. It has Deflect 2, it has Weapon Master, so when you play it, you can equip a gear, and it has +1 might for each friendly gear. Now, that doesn't sound that impressive until you look at Spell Songer, which is also a gear, which costs a power, which again is going to help. You're going to be helped out by that with the Ornn Legend ability. As this is attached to a unit, copy that unit's text, basically. So if you have a spell song attached to Ornn, suddenly it's Deflect 4, and it's getting +2 might for every friendly gear. And if you have 2 of them attached, it's Deflect 6. I have played against this Ornn, and I have had to pay Deflect 6, and then they defied me, or not so fasted me. It is absolutely devastating if your opponent doesn't have the answers. The Azir card, which is interesting to see in here, is the only other unit, is sort of like a tide turner that you can do the swap at a moment's notice, because it has an action speed on the ability, and you pay a green power. You choose a unit you control, which is, spoiler alert, going to be Ornn, and you move me to its location and it to my original location. If it's equipped, you may attach 1 of its equipment to me. So if your Ornn is about to get like completely overrun in a battlefield, maybe they've gone for like Thousand-Tailed Watcher play, and you've got Azir chilling at your base or chilling at the other battlefield, you could swap Azir with the Ornn. On the other hand, if they go for the Thousand-Tailed Watcher play to try and take out your Azir, you've got Azir at one battlefield, Ornn at the other, you could just swap Azir with Ornn, and suddenly they've got to deal with the big fat Ornn. Time Warp's in there to try and win the game. This deck's really, really slow, so you've got Aspirant's Climb, Obelisk of Power to give you a bit of ramp, and then the signature gear that you have available in Ornn is fascinating because there's 3 different kinds. Are we playing all 3 kinds? No. We're only playing one of them, and it is the one which gives ganking. Very, very interesting that there's only that. Let's just see the other one here. When I attack or defend, deal 2 to all enemy units here in the sideboard. Obviously, don't use Hourglass to protect your guys. We're not seeing the green gear, which, what's it called? What's it called? This one, Guardian Angel. A little bit surprised there's no Guardian Angel in there. That seems like a good addition as well. I've been playing against Ornns with Guardian Angel. There is other ways you can build Ornn, because this deck is very all-in, and it can fall to pieces quite quickly, right? Like, your strategy is so all-in. You're very, very weak to heavy gear removal, particularly on this card. Like, if this card can get removed, the deck loses a lot of its power. Call the Weak and cards like this, if they're not defied or hit by not so fast, you're going to lose very, very quickly. But there are other Ornn decks which play the green Ornn and are maybe like a little bit less all-in. But this is a really awesome, fun deck, which I think a lot of people are going to enjoy playing. We've got Teemo. Teemo, my favourite deck from set 1, in 91st place. Pretty good effort. This one is the first deck we're seeing of purple playing purple seals, playing Ezreal, and playing Gold Shot, which does make me happy. A little bit surprised that we don't just see the full play set of all 3. In my mind, this is a package of cards which just, the more you have, the more consistent your deck becomes. But that's just my 2 cents. We see Teemo as the chosen champion. We see Factory Recall, which is One of the best ways you have of dealing with gear in purple and blue, which is return a gear to its owner's hand. It's kind of like a gust for gear. It's not bad, right? It's not bad at all because you can do it in combat. If your opponent has like the BF sword, which gives +3 might, you can play the factory recall to make them lose 3 might for that combat and also slow them down significantly in terms of tempo. So I think factory recall is a very, very interesting card. Gust is also really interesting to see. You might be like, mate, it's not that interesting. It's Gust. Well, with the card pool doubling in size in Spiritforged, it's really difficult to find room for everything that you want to play. So actually finding room to play 3 Gusts shows you that this Teemo player is wanting to win quite quickly, which is actually, in my opinion, a very, very good decision. If you're playing Teemo instead of Ezreal, you really need to think, what style of deck does this Teemo legend and Teemo champion help me play when I could play Ezreal? Well, Ezreal's very slow, potentially, with card draw. Teemo's quite quick, right? Teemo tempo, right? Teemo tempo. I'm very much of the opinion that Teemo should be a tempo deck. So I'm a big Teemo fan, can you guys tell? Traveling Merchant's in there, which is going to be really good for the Dr. Mundo. 3 copies of Switcheroo, which is a lot of Switcheroo. We tend to see 2, but obviously there is hidden synergy there. 1 Flash, 2 Ride the Wind, 1 Convergent Mutation. Choose a friendly unit, increase its might until it equals the might of another friendly unit. Sort of similar to Switcheroo in a sense. Kind of. 1 Fight or Flight, 3 Treasure Hunter. This card's absurd. Edge of Night is brilliant in Teemo. You can hide it and just immediately equip it the following turn for no power cost, and it's +2. It's really, really good. Invert Timelines is a bit unorthodox. Each player discards their hand and then draws 4, but that's going to feed the Mundo. Ember Monk is a 3 of, 1 Singularity and 1 Unchecked Power. Exhaust all friendly units, then deal 12 to all units of battlefields. So this deck has got like some early game tempo with cards like Gust and Factory Recall, and then looking to close out the game with Dr. Mundo, Ride the Wind, and Unchecked Power. Very, very interesting take on Teemo. Very good result at 91st. And yeah, look, the Forgotten Monument. Players can't score here until their 3rd turn. You would imagine that's going to be played when you go first to Teemo. You just move into there, you hide a card, you protect the other battlefield, leaving your opponent to only be able to go into the Forgotten Monument, and then they are going to be in a bit of a pickle, aren't they? Up next, in 86th, we've got Yasuo, also a purple deck, so it can't be bad. Purple, guys, can't be bad. It just can't. Aspirant's Climb, so a slower take on Yasuo. Of course, Irelia is definitely overshadowing Yasuo in this new format, but this deck is looking quite similar to what we see from the Irelia decks, with the Irelia Fervent, 3 of. The Stellarcorn Herder, only 2 copies of. This card is absolutely bonkers. You can draw so many cards with this thing. It is unbelievable. And this deck just seems to be quite similar to what Irelia is looking to do, which is just get like a big guy, score some cheap points in the early game, maybe with some 2-drops like Lonely Poro, Overzealous Fan, the Yasuo Legend ability, and then also you've got your Yasuo Remorseful as like a big power play to clear the board, but just looking to dominate with Irelia basically. So this one just looks like it's just saying, I am Irelia, but worse. And honestly, yeah, kind of is what Yasuo is, I think, at this point. So quite like the idea of this one. Heart of Dark Ice is a very fascinating new card. Give a unit +3 might this turn. It is a gear. We didn't see it in the Ornn deck, but I have seen it in some Ornn lists. Also, the Siren is interesting as a concept in Yasuo. Like, you would think that it's a bit redundant, but there's only one, and suddenly you could actually pay 3 total to move something twice. So it's interesting. Spirit Wheel's in there as well. Cool. Up next, 85th, so still not in the top cut. It was top 64. We've got Jax. Jax is definitely one going under the radar. Orange and green as a pairing. I haven't played against Jax much, but when I did play against it, I got battered. So it is a gear-heavy deck, so might struggle against gear removal. But does also play Akshan itself with 2 more on the sideboard. So basically what this legend does is you can pay 1 energy to attach a detached equipment you control. Usually it's going to cost you a power. So instead of paying a power, you can pay an energy. Kind of similar to Teemo, right? And then what you can also do is you can exert it and attach equipment you control to a unit you control. So it is kind of like the Teemo of gear in a way with this ability. Definitely very different chosen champion compared to what Teemo has, because it costs a lot. It costs 5, Jax unmatched. It's a green power. It's got deflect. Each equipment in your hand has quick draw, which means it has reaction, and you can play it at reaction speed, that's quite fascinating. The Jax signature spell, also reaction, choose a unit. The next time that unit would be dealt damage this turn, prevent it and draw 1. That sounds pretty damn good. So I think Jax is really good. I think this one might prove to be a bit of a sleeper deck that people are not quite realizing how good it is. Guardian Angel Brutalizer. The Apprentice Smith is a new 2-drop. When I move, reveal the top card of your main deck. If it's a gear, draw it, otherwise recycle it. I mean, that just sounds great. 3 copies of Lucian Merciless, which I think is one of the best cards in the new set. 3 Bone Shivers as well. When I conquer, channel 1 Rune Exhausted. If you can attach this to your Lucian conquers, your Lucian readies, you channel a Rune Exhausted, and then you return your Lucian back to your base, and you do it again the next turn. This deck's got serious legs, I think. Definitely one on my radar, that's for sure. I will be streaming probably some Jax games in the near future. Lux in 82nd. I think Lux is quite good, guys. I think Lux is quite good, and it is that Jason Vanguard Armory combo. Just hope you don't get Akshan, I guess, is the main thing to hope for with Lux. We saw a similar build with Renata. I think that this deck lends itself more to Lux because, you just go wide with the Vanguard Armory and Jace combo, but then you can just play like a lot of 5-cost spells. Drag under, kill a unit at a battlefield. I cost 2 less if played from anywhere other than your hand. Well, I think it's always going to cost you 5. Imperial Decree, that same card we talked about in the Renata deck, is unbelievable, particularly with Lux, because you can draw after it. Progress Day, I've got to say, feels a little bit over the top. I'm not really sure it's that necessary, but it's a one-off. Fair enough, it's a one-off. There's not like consult the past. You do have Lux draw, but this is like your emergency button. Fair enough, as a one-off, it makes sense. Kill a unit at battlefield, blast of power, singularity. So you've got lots of really good options that cost 5 or more, particularly this Imperial Decree. Now, the Lux Chosen Champion is really good. Like, I think it's the reason to play the deck and why I actually think this deck's got serious chance of actually being quite solid. I always really liked the look of this Chosen Champion, and actually, now with this deck, it really makes sense. You get your Jace down early, you kill a gold gear that maybe your Plundering Poro creates, maybe your Honest Broker creates, so you've got some consistency there, right, in finding some gold gear nice and early. You get down your big Vanguard Armory, bish bash bosh, play your Lux at your base, and then suddenly your big spells like Imperial Decree are costing 2 less. It just can't be bad. I'm really, really interested in this deck. I think it's got serious legs. I think, honestly, it might be better than Viktor. Maybe. Perhaps that's not maybe going to prove to be true, because maybe with Akshan in the format and gear removal, the Vanguard Armory might prove to be a little bit not quite worth it. We'll have to see. But, to be fair, if Akshan steals your Vanguard Armory, Lux can singularity it, right? So you still have outs to Akshan. Because if Akshan dies, you get it back. So, and there's a third singularity on the sideboard. I think Lux is pretty good. 73rd place, another deck I think is pretty good, is Misfortune. Non-Dazzling Aurora Misfortune is what I'm most interested in testing. But Dazzling Aurora still finishing in 73rd place rather. Really good effort. No surprise to see Misfortune doing well. I think it's a really, really good legend ability. I think the Chosen Champion's solid as well. Punch First is a great new addition, although it's quite power hungry. Not sure how really good that is for a Dazzling Aurora deck compared with Tempo decks. Last Rites is a new card. When I conquer or hold, you may play a unit from your trash. Mobilize is ramping. You've got the Treasure Trove, Pack of Wonders, Wombo combo. When this leaves the board, draw 1 and channel 1 Rune Exhausted, and then the Pack of Wonders can exert to return another friendly gear to its hand. Really cool deck, but I'm more interested in seeing in the future if Misfortune mid-range can become a thing, because I think it's got a real chance with the Maroon Runner and the purple package. Rek'sai in 66th place, just outside of the top cut. I think Rek'sai's good. I've been pretty impressed by it. It's very aggressive. It's very unique. It's a very, very fun deck. It's definitely one I'm going to be streaming and checking out in the next couple of weeks as we get ready for Spiritforged release. So Rek'sai Void Burrower, when you conquer, you may exhaust me to reveal the top 2 cards of your main deck. You may play one of them, then recycle the rest. You do have to pay the costs on Rek'sai. It's not like you can just play it for free. Void Rush is a brilliant signature spell. Reveal the top 2 cards of your main deck. You may play one of them, reducing its cost by 2. Draw any you did not play this way. The red seals are in here as well. So your Void Rush, if you've got a red seal down, you can just tap the seal and pay 2. And then you get the cost reduced by 2 of the card you play, and you draw the other one. So it's like extremely, extremely good. Void Hatching is a really cool 2-drop. If you would reveal cards from a deck, look at the top card first. You may recycle it, then reveal those cards. So basically just like allows you to dig one deeper with your Void Burrower, your Void Rush. Then the deck's got lots of control. Hextech Rays with your Red Seal, Falling Stars with your Red Seal, Piercing Light, Void Seeker, and then the Immortal Phoenix really shines in this one. We thought Immortal Phoenix might prove to be quite good in Jinx. It never quite happened. But Immortal Phoenix really lends itself nicely to this deck. When you would kill a unit with a spell, you may pay one energy and 1 red power to play me from your trash. The Immortal Phoenix is a bit of a menace in this one, if a lot end up in the discard. And the Under Titan, guys, is such a cool card. It's one of my favorite cards of the set. When you play me, give your other units +2 might this turn. Now, you might be like, that's not that interesting. Well, the real cool part of this ability is the second part. As I'm revealed from your deck, add 2 energy. That is so good. I love cards which you don't actually need to play them for them to be good. If you think about like Scrap Peep and how good Scrap Peep is, right? The card which when you discard it, draw 1. Yes, Under Titan is an extremely different card, but in this deck, you are looking at the top of your deck. So why would you not just want 3 Under Titans in there, which if you get lucky and you reveal them, you get 2 additional energy? That's so crazy. And the thing is with the Under Titan, it's not even a bad closer either. You can play this down on your last turn to close out the game. So I love Under Titan. 1 Drag Under. Darius is in there with the red power cost. No surprise there. Maybe the only surprise is there's only 2 of them, to be completely fair, because this card is a powerhouse. And then Rek'sai, is it Breacher? I don't think he's a Preacher. For any units played from anywhere other than a player's hand, gain Accelerate. And of course with the Rek'sai, that's very relevant. You've got Zorn Warrens, Candlelit Sanctum, obviously big synergy with Rek'sai. And then Rockfall Path. Units can't be played here. I think this deck's got serious legs. Hidden Blade, Cold the Weak, like the amount of control this deck has, and tempo, definitely one I want to be testing. We've got Sett in 58th place. It's also Dazzling Aurora. Wow, okay, so Dazzling Aurora Sett doing pretty well. Sett could be okay in like a normal format with Ruin Runner as the top end. It might just be a little bit slow with these like purple decks just being able to vomit so many points down on the board. Sett's probably getting overrun by those a little bit, like in a traditional sense. So it makes sense that Dazzling Aurora Sett is the preferred option to get the best of card, right? Like if you're wanting to play Dazzling Aurora, Sett's probably not the best way to play Dazzling Aurora, but Showstopper is a great signature spell. There's no doubt about that. Hidden Blade's an awesome card. Blood Money is a new one. Rally the Troops. When a friendly unit is played this turn, buff it and draw 1. Commander Ledros. As you play me, kill any number of friendly units as an additional cost. Reduce my power cost by each killed this way. Divine Judgment as well. 3 copies. Each player chooses 2 units, 2 gear, 2 runes, and 2 cards in their hand. Recycle the rest. So that's quite a compelling reason actually to play Dazzling Aurora with yellow is Divine Judgment. It's something we did see a fair bit in the previous meta in set 1. But now with all these purple cards being so greedy with the amount of cards they can vomit and the amount of cards that they can have in hand, Divine Judgment, honestly, sounds pretty good. So, and also there's less Aurora Mirrors where this card could maybe be detrimental, I would imagine. So, maybe it could be good. I don't know. But this card looks good. I think I like the build a lot, actually. Honestly, yellow, Aurora. What are the other yellow and orange decks? Let me know. I'm sure I'll remember in a minute. But yeah, maybe even like taking a look at to see if the other yellow-orange deck could play Aurora. We might have already covered it. Fiora. Fiora's not playing Aurora. Okay, cool. So Sett, if you want to play Divine Judgment, Dazzling Aurora, Sett's the boss for you. Seems pretty good, actually. Viktor in 56th place. Viktor is also playing the Jace Vanguard Armory combo, which is a bit risky, but big payoff. Singularity, Falling Comet. So kind of similar to the Lux deck, really, but obviously Viktor just giving you a different shell. The Viktor yellow is selected. Maybe I'd be expecting to see the blue Viktor a little bit more, to be completely honest with you, because this deck doesn't play many other units which aren't recruits. So I feel like the Viktor lead is probably not going to be doing too much for you. I think that's definitely a downside of this deck when you compare it to Lux, is the Lux Chosen Champion is doing way more work in this kind of shell. Admittedly, the Viktor Legend is much better than the Lux one, so there's that. This one, because it doesn't have the Lux card draw, is playing 2 copies of Consult the Past, as well as obviously Hidden Blade can be drawing you cards as well. We've got Qin Zhao in there, which has tank and enter ready if you have 2 or more other units in your base. Pretty similar to the decks we've already covered for Lux and Renata, so we'll move on. Master Yi in 45th. I said maybe Master Yi's falling off a bit. Might be a bit harsh, we'll have to see. This is a mid-range Master Yi. Punch first, first mate, Ruin Runner. I mean, the deck can't really be that bad. It's maybe not the most exciting when compared with a lot of the new other flashy tools that we've got in Set 2. And maybe that's why it looks like it's falling off, because maybe people are just wanting to play with the new shiny things, which honestly, I certainly do. But this deck looks pretty good. Sip of coffee. It looks pretty good. Ruin Runner, I think, is a brilliant top-end card for a mid-range deck. I think Misfortune could benefit from it as well in that style. Punch First is absolutely outstanding. So I am pretty interested to see if Master Yi mid-range can actually do the business here. It looks like a really solid build. Hard to go wrong. And pretty good result at 45th place for Master Yi. Ahri in 24th place. Ahri. Thousand-Tailed Watcher as a 3 of. Sona is a pretty interesting card in this deck. You get Sona down and you ready 4 of your runes. Then you could play like in your opponent's turn, immediately find your center to ramp or just do more things to protect your Sona or like develop a wide board. Desert's cool with Sona, by the way. I love Desert's Call in this deck in particular. I think this card is one of my favorite 2-drops, as I mentioned earlier in the video. Play a 2 Might Sand Soldier unit token, and you can repeat that. But with Sona, you play Sona. Oh no, you can't do it with Sona. It doesn't have action. But still, I love Desert's Call. Thwonk's in there as a 3 of. Block's in there as a 2 of. Emperor's Divide, which is like this flash type card. The Eager Apprentice, reducing the energy cost. So if you can get Eager Apprentice and Sona, and then hold. Holding is the name of the game with this one. Feral Strength, a really good new repeat spell. Give a unit +2 might this turn, so you can get something +4. And this one's also playing the new Mirai Spire battlefield. When you control this battlefield, friendly repeat costs 1 energy less. Really cool deck. You've got on the sideboard Ahri and Time Warp as well, where you could swap in the other Ahri and do some big holding. Ahri feels to me like it was one of the most underrated decks from Set 1. Like, I always thought Ahri should be pretty good, but it had a really bad performance in Houston, which maybe is meaning it's now going under the radar, and it actually might be better than a lot of people are giving it credit for. So Ahri's definitely one to keep your eye on. I love how diverse the game might be. I know purple's really good, but honestly, very diverse. Lucian, 22nd place, in fact. My apologies there. I think Lucian's great. You've got access to the brilliant Chosen Champion, which is one of the best cards in the current format, especially for like faster aggro decks. You've got Ruin Runner as top end. You've got Punch First, and then you've got all of the red, like, aggressive tools that you might expect to see. Well, actually, you're missing a lot of them, but you've certainly got some red aggressive tools. You've got Kaiser, you've got Longsword, Blood Rush, Angle Shot, and the signature spell on this one is Brilliant Relentless Pursuit. Move a friendly unit. You may attach an equipment with the same controller to it. This turn, that unit has When I Conquer, you may move me to my base. It's kind of like Ride the Wind, but in orange and red, and with Lucian and with gear synergy. It's awesome. It's brilliant. It's really good. You get access to Akshan in these colors. And then this deck is, I think, doing an OTK thing, which is cool, but maybe a meme. I would imagine that like you could probably build this deck better without the Skyfall of Arion. My hold effects are also Conquer effects. So basically, like, you don't really have that many uses of this. Kaiser is one, right? If you hold with Kaiser, with this attached, you would draw. But the main use of this is actually, if you have Trinity Force and Skyfall, when I hold, score 1 point. Let's say you've got it attached to Lucian. So whenever Lucian holds, he scores 1 point. And then you attach the Skyfall to him as well. And then suddenly, whenever Lucian holds or conquers, you score 1 point. So if you conquer with Lucian, you would score 2 points if you have both Trinity Force and Skyfall attached. It's really cool. I have a feeling that the best way to play this deck might not actually end up playing the Skyfall. But it's certainly a wombo combo to go for, and very cool to see. And obviously it did really well. It's definitely a combo that I'm going to be exploring and covering. No doubt about that. I'm getting ready for lots of Riftbound streams and deck guides. We've got Azir in 18th. I think Azir is also great. Azir can go wide in a similar way to Viktor, but your tokens are packing much more of a punch. First and foremost, because they are twice the size of recruits. They are 2 might, but also they have Weapon Master, which is really cool. Weapon Master is, when you play them, you can pay 1 power less to attach a gear to it, which is pretty much, you just get to attach a gear for free to your guys very, very often, which is really, really cool. So this deck goes very wide with Sand Soldiers, of course, Desert's Cools in the mix. You've got Guards. Play a 2 might Sand Soldier unit token. You may pay a power to ready it. Damn, that's a good card. I like the look of that quite a bit as well. Sort of similar to a Sprite Cool, but it's also a hidden card as well. Yeah, it's actually very similar to Sprite Cool. It's very good. That's a very good card. I like that. You've got the BF Sword. It certainly is big. It certainly is. And you're closing this game out with Grand Stratagem. Give friendly units +5 might this turn. Important to note with Grand Stratagem, you can do it in your opponent's turn. Arise is the signature spell. Play a 2 might Sand Soldier unit token for each equipment you control. Then ready 2 of them. Sideboard in there as well with some salvage. Ezreal finished pretty high up. Not sure exactly where, but it was in like 16th place, something like this. It was between 18th and 10th. That much I can tell you. Ezreal looks really good. This one is playing the Seal of Discord, Cord Shot, and Ezreal package, which is good to see. Finally, this package of cards making the cut, because this package of cards is, in my opinion, giga broken. Like, I think it's super unhealthy for the game. It's going to be so expensive. It's a bit alarming, if I'm honest, how good it is when you consider the Seal of Discord as an epic and the Ezreal as an epic. It's going to be expensive, but very, very good. Now, obviously, no surprise to see that Ezreal itself is playing this package of cards. But yeah, basically, like, the main advantage you get from having Ezreal as your chosen champion is you just have access to it always, which is good. But in my experience of playing non-Ezreal purple decks, like, it's very rare that you miss out on this anyway. When you have stack deck, when you have Cord Shot, you still find your Ezreal in other decks. So the chosen champion is, of course, extremely, extremely good in this one. But if you miss your purple seal early on, the chosen champion suddenly feels a lot worse because you're paying a power cost for it, right? So deck's very reliant on seals. So I'm a little bit surprised that we don't see more gold gear generation in this one, perhaps with like some 2-drops, like the Treasure Hunter, I think could go a long way. And in fact, if you look at this deck, it's not playing a single 2-cost unit, which is really, really interesting. We've got 3 Card Sharps, which I think is a great, great card. When you play me, you and each opponent may play a gold gear token exhausted. For each opponent you did, you play a gold gear token exhausted. So you will always play a gold gear token, at least one, unless you're a bit dense, respectfully. And then your opponent has the choice to play one. If your opponent plays one, then you get another one. So you basically can get 2. Now, obviously, there's some very niche situations you might want to play the card shop and not generate a gold gear for yourself. But that just sounds terrible, right? Because then you play a card. Yeah, okay. You're not going to do that. If you're going to do that, you're not going to put the card shop in your deck to begin with. Arcane Shift is a really good signature spell. Little bit surprised there's only 1 of them, if I'm honest. Banish, I think 3 might be a lot, but I feel like it might be worth a 2-off slot. Banish a friendly unit, then its owner plays it, ignoring its cost. Deal 3 to an enemy unit at a battlefield. Banish this. This is really good against like cost reduction things. Like, let's say you've got your Ezreal in a combat and your opponent uses a smoke screen and loads of stupefies on it or something like this. It's about to die. Suddenly you play Arcane Shift and it's back, right? You get to replay it, maybe at the base as sort of like a retreat, for example. Deal 3 damage or something. It's a really, really good card. It's got a lot of flexibility. I suppose this particular list, you don't have that many units, which might be a concern for it. But Arcane Shift is also great on Mind Splitter. It's great on Thousand-Tailed Watcher. Now, the key card, which I've overlooked massively so far in this Ezreal build, is the Pit Crew. When you play a gear, ready me. This is a card to keep an eye on in lots of decks, I think. It has real potential. Ezreal with gear seems a little bit weird. Like, maybe there's a better way of playing the Pit Crew, but it's a fantastic idea. Like, play a gear, ready me. Play another gear, ready me, go back to base. It's kind of like Blue's answer to Lucian. It's a little bit more janky, arguably, but Lucian's like really good. So if you have a similar card to Lucian available in blue, yeah, there's definitely something there. So very interesting build of Ezreal. Not typically what we see. Typically you'd expect to see with Ezreal, no gear, maybe like the big top end downwell card, like the 8 cost, return everything to hand card. Certainly Watchers, but I think Ezreal's one to keep an eye on. I think it's got some serious potential. I really love this game, man. Kai'Sa, 10th place. Kai'Sa with Premonition, Forecaster. I think the 2-drop selection is a little bit questionable here with despite having Stupefies, no Ravenbloom students. Just seems like an absolute home run card. Instead going for the Plundering Poro. I'm not sure the gold gear token is worth it compared with just stats of the Ravenbloom student when you're playing Kai'Sa, which can reduce costs. Draven Vanquisher does make the cut here as a 3-of though, which is very, very interesting to see. That is for sure. Kai'Sa looking quite similar to what we're used to. There's definitely a few different directions you could go in. I don't like the 2-drop selection in this one, but the rest looks pretty good. In 5th place, the only Annie in the top 64. Annie had like 5 players in the whole tournament playing it, which is quite absurd. Annie's still good. Who's surprised? Nobody. I think Annie is honestly got a chance of being better than Draven when the dust settles, which is certainly a hot take, but it is what I believe. Hard Bargain is a great new addition to Annie decks. Counter a spell, and you can repeat it, unless its opponent pays 2 energy. A lot of other purple decks are very energy hungry, and it's quite hard to actually like hold energy for Hard Bargain in a way that a lot of the other green decks do. But with Annie, you don't need to hold energy for it because Annie just does it for you. Annie just can't be bad. The sneaky deckhand's great. Draven's in this one, which is interesting. When I win a combat, play a gold gear token exhausted, and when I attack or defend, you may pay a red power if you do give me +2 might this turn. It's interesting to see 3 Kaisers in there as well. Definitely, I think there's different ways you can build Annie. I'm not sure that this is really the best Annie list I've ever seen. I think Ride the Wind is massively missing in this one. I really like the Treasure Hunter, I got to say. Annie's just a great deck. Definitely one to keep an eye on. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. 4th place, Irelia. Irelia is in contention for being one of the best decks in the format. Of course it is, because it plays purple. Defiant Dance is one of the best signature spells in the game, giving you 4 might net advantage overall for just 1 energy and 1 power. Is extremely, extremely strong. And Irelia is playing very, very few units. It's looking to buff Irelia up big and tall and then swing through with Guardian Angels attached to her, meaning that even if she does die, she's going to go back to the base. And also the Draven Audacious is unbelievably good in this deck. When it wins a combat, you score a point, and when it dies in combat, your opponent scores a point. Well, if Guardian Angel is attached, the Guardian Angel will be killed instead, and Draven would not. So that mitigates a lot of the downside. So Draven with the green pairing is great. Really, really good deck. Really strong. Could prove to be best deck in the format, I think, when the dust settles. It's got a real chance. 2nd place is Fiora. We're sort of rushing through a little bit the top decks, but that's because we've talked about all these top decks so much. If you want to see gameplay of this Fiora deck and the Draven deck, I did a whole video where I did a cast of the final. It was really good to watch. Fiora's got a lot of cool things going on for it. I think the particularly unique thing I love about this deck, having watched the final, is the flexibility of your chosen champion. You've got the 3 cost or the 4 cost, which are both really good chosen champions. If you're going second, you probably want to play the Fiora worthy, so you can just always play something on your first turn. And if you're going second, you probably want Fiora victorious, so you can just always play something on your second turn. That gives you some really interesting flexibility in the way you build the deck, because you don't need to worry about curve in terms of 3 drops and 4 drops anywhere near as much as you otherwise would. Lucian Merciless is here, First Mate's here, Punch First is here. I think the only thing I don't like about this deck particularly is that there's only 2 Punch First and only 2 First Mate. If it was me, I would be playing 3 of each of these. Riposte is the signature spell for Fiora. Choose a friendly unit and a spell, counter that spell, and give that unit plus might equal to that spell's energy cost. It's a counter that you can play in flipping orange and yellow. Pretty damn cool. And finally, last but certainly not least, it's the big boy, it's Draven. There's a lot of different ways you can go about building Draven, that's for sure, but triple Edge of Night is unorthodox, to say the least, and will be extremely heavily punished if people play gear removal in their main deck. But the logic of this, which was masterfully done in the final, is that people play gear removal in the sideboard usually. So this player in game 2 took out all 3 copies of their Edge of Night, while their opponent put in 2 more copies of Salvage, bringing them up to a total of 3. It was masterfully done. So the Edge of Night is almost like baiting their opponent into adding bad gear removal, and then they just take the Edge of the Night out. Very, very cool. Brian Here Thundersong was really, really good. It closed the final out. There's all sorts of ways you can build Draven. You could go for like a purple seal route, for example, as well, but Draven just can't be bad. This one, though, doesn't have the battering rams, and it also doesn't have Wrath of the Sunderers, so I'm not really convinced this is the best way to play Draven, but we'll have to wait and see. It certainly won the whole damn thing, didn't it? And there was a lot of other Dravens that it came out on top of, so yeah. All right, guys, that's all we've got time for. We just hit the 1 hour mark exactly. Thanks again to the channel sponsor, Card Market. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like and subscribe for more. This was one take. I am really loving Riftbound. I'm playing so much at the moment, and Riftbound deck guides and live streams are coming your way very soon, so look out for those. Cheers. Bye. Bye. Bye.